Hello, how are you today? Welcome again to another session of Chats with Dr. Mercy Umeri. If you're new here, I would love you to subscribe to this channel and do not forget to hit the notification bell so that whenever I put up a new video, you'll be one of the first people to be notified. Today, I want to talk about negotiating salaries. Before I start, I would want to talk about this idea of comparable worth. Comparable worth, also known as pay equity, is just this principle that every job of equal value or worth within an organization must be compensated equally, irrespective of gender or other protected characteristics. It is this whole idea of fairness in compensation and payments of salaries across the board. Now that we've established this, what are some of the things that you have to consider when you start looking at negotiating your salaries? Number one, industry standard. How much are people in your industry earning? How much are people who are similarly situated in your specific role? How much are those people earning? It's important to have these facts and figures. When you start looking at negotiating for your salary, it shouldn't be an emotional decision. It shouldn't be a sentimental decision. It should be a decision that is backed up by data, facts, and figures. Apart from the fact that you bring in the data that shows what you're contributing to the organization, it's also important that you have these facts and figures from industry. It helps to back up your case. Secondly, do not compare apples to oranges. I'll give an example. If you're in a country like Nigeria, be careful about comparing what you're earning to what somebody who is similarly situated like you in the US is earning. Because if you start doing that conversion rate, it can be very misleading. But if you get a job in the US, for instance, say a remote job, and you live in Nigeria, yes, you should be asking for the prevailing wage for the position that you're asking for in the US, even though you live in Nigeria. Does that make sense? So that we are clear about how we're going onto that negotiation table. Secondly, I would say, do your research. There are tons of resources out there about where you can find information about salaries and roles, compensation packages, and benefits. I like to use payscale.com because with payscale.com you can actually tell how much people are earning across board in a particular industry, but also in very specific roles. Then thirdly, I would say know your walk-away points. When you go to a negotiation table, there is an amount you should have that you would never take. For instance, somebody who has a master's degree, there is a minimum you should be asking for. Somebody who has a bachelor's degree, there is a minimum you should be asking for, which is really how salaries are even created in the first place, where we're looking at people's knowledge, the education they have, their skills, their abilities and other capabilities that they bring to the table. It's not just because you feel. Sometimes we feel that we are deserving of a particular amount. No, it's not just a feeling. Like I said again, salaries are backed up by data. And I will say here, if you're in an organization, this is the point you should be asking yourself: what is the compensation strategy or philosophy for my organization? Because it lets you know whether, in the long run, it will make any kind of sense for you to be in that organization. Then finally, I would say this: know the industry you play in. Do not be afraid to ask. For some of us, and I say some of us, women, it is difficult to talk about money. It can be very nerve-wracking. But do not be afraid to go to that table, that negotiation table, in confidence to ask. And like I said, it is not an emotional decision. I know sometimes we can be conflicted about, should I be grateful for the job and should I ask? Yes, while you should be grateful for the job, also do not be afraid to ask, especially when you feel that what you're being paid is not fair. Remember when I talked about comparable worth? That's the whole idea. Beyond going to the table to ask for an increase in your salaries. Don't also forget that beyond salaries, there are other things like benefits. Make sure that you have all the data that you need to go to that table. Till I talk to you again, keep winning and continue to be a better version of yourself. Bye-bye.